All right. Check one, two. This is your boy Tony Maceo coming to you live and direct from Power and Strategy on YouTube. Shout out to Max City Limits. Hold on, let me kill this echo here. All right. Shout out to Max City Limits radio or podcast show. Shout out to the one and only Big Mike. It appears I'm the only one in here tonight. So I'm going to do this anyway. Come with me. You show up, you show up, you don't, you don't. Tonight, oh, I guess I'm sorry, we got seven in the house. We got my man, Nice Nice. What's going on? Shout out to Devin Haley. Shout out to Iceberg Max. Shout out to Janelle Santos. Everybody's filing on in right about now. Shout out to Excalibur. Thank y'all for joining me this evening. And on this live, basically, I'm here to talk about child support, how it works, how guys can protect themselves, how to keep from getting caught up and messed up in that system. So before I get started, I got to do some basic, as they say, preliminaries. I got to let you know that if it comes to for legal advice, you should consult a licensed attorney. I'm not a licensed attorney. So you need to consult a licensed attorney. All right. Secondly, I want to explain what tonight's show is. Tonight's show is not an angle, or tonight's live, I'm sorry. It's not an angle to help you get over. That's not what this is about. This is not something about you. This is not something to help you get over on your baby mama. I'm not interested in getting drugged off in no game of one-upsmanship between you and some random thought that you were reckless with. So shout out to Unreasonable Man. Salute, brother. So I'm not here to help you get over on some random thought. I'm not here to help you duck your responsibilities or your obligations in being a man. But what I am here for is to help you or to give you information to keep you from getting caught up and getting screwed over in that system. Because there are some brothers out here that are trying to, do what's right. They do have good intentions, and they are out here trying to uphold their obligations. They're trying to abide by their obligations. They're standing on their square. So this podcast is to help and to inform those brothers so that they can protect themselves. Tonight we're going to discuss some survival strategies. I'm going to give you guys the ins and outs, excuse me, of the child support system. Guys, bear with me a little. I'm still a little nervous doing this shit, so please bear with me. But I'm beginning to relax, the more and more I do it. So again, what this is, it's protection for those cats that are caught up in that system, that have found themselves accidentally caught up in that system, and they're just getting screwed over. I'm not interested in a private war between you and your baby mama. I'm not interested in that shit. I'm not interested in I'm not interested in helping you to get even with anybody. I ain't interested in that shit. I ain't interested in no angle. And I can tell who this is going to be for and who it isn't going to be for, because the people who it's for are going to understand that they're going to have to do a little bit of leg work. It's going to take a little bit of elbow grease, and it's going to take a little bit of effort. The dudes who it's not for, they're going to be looking for a quick angle. And I don't have any quick angles for you tonight, but what I do have is information that just might save your life. What I have for you is information that just may put you back up on your feet again. That's what I got for you tonight. And that's what I'm going to give you tonight. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my live. Shout out to Jutland Capital. Shout out to B Money. Shout out again to Miss Janelle Santos. Shout out to Little Rock 2517. Thank you guys for joining me in here tonight. It's good to know I'm not talking to my damn self, but thank you guys for falling on through. So let's get into this, right? We all know what child support is. We all know how it works. I'm not interested in how you got caught up. I'm not interested in that. But what I am interested in, but what I am interested in is helping those brothers, those competent brothers, those hardworking brothers protect themselves in a really, really vicious system that are trapped in a really, really vicious cycle. So let's get it. Child support has 5 stages, ladies and gentlemen. There are one or two ways you get caught up, or there are one or two ways the child support or the child support system is invoked into your business. Now, some of you may know this name, some of you may not know this name. This is called, the name of the institution is the Child Support Enforcement Agency. That's the name of it predominantly through the jurisdictions throughout the states. It's the name of it, through across the country. Everybody has some form of the CSEA. So how do they get into your business? They get into your business one or two ways. When somebody applies for child support services through CSEA, or CSEA receives a referral from a public assistance program. That may be Medicaid, a government entitlement program, Section 8, that may be the food stamp department, the Department of Agriculture, which is the food stamp department, that may be HUD, that may be whatever agency, whatever state or local federal agency that they received that referral from. And they received that referral because the mother has applied for assistance. And she's applying for assistance based upon the fact that she has a child or had a child out of wedlock. So as you all well know, they attempt to ascertain, who the father of that child is. Now, barring that the girl is not a thought and that she can name who her child is. Now, here's the screwed up part. It doesn't have to be correct. It doesn't have to be correct. It doesn't have to be, it could be a guess. She could be wrong. But if she gives them your name, now it's up to them to locate you. They have to locate the non-custodial father. And there are several ways, actually, there are a bunch of ways that they can locate a non-custodial father. First, they would need, or they would require, a social security number. But in the event that they don't have a social security number, if they have your name and your date of birth, that's all that they need. CSEA has an investigatory body within it where it's their job to hunt down non-custodial fathers. That's all they do. They hunt down non-custodial fathers for the purposes of allowing her to stay on whatever government entitled benefits that she's on. So where do they go looking for these non-custodial fathers? Because they're a government agency, there is literally no database that they can't get into with a subpoena or a formal request on a state form from a state government agency, state or federal government agency. These people have access to the Department of Vital Statistics. The Vital Statistics, that's the place that holds the marriage certificates, the marriage licenses, the birth certificates, and the death certificates. They have access to that. They have access to state tax files. They have access to real and personal property records. That means if you own a home, that means if you're renting an apartment, they have access to that information. They have access to any occupational or professional licenses you have. They have access to whether or not you filed to run your own business in case you're self-employed. They have access to the Secretary of State records or whatever state agency controls licensing businesses and corporations. They have access to that. They have access to public assistance. They have access to the motor vehicle department. They have access through LEAN. LEAN means the law enforcement information network. They have access to that. They have access to the VA. They have access to your state records. They have access to your utilities. That means the electric company. That means gas. That means water. They also have access to cable TV companies that can also turn over or give up your information. They can also access your credit report without a signed consent from you. They do not need a signed consent release, because if you guys are familiar with the credit process, what happens is that they You usually have to sign a release form before they run your credit report. Well, CSEA doesn't require a consent or a release form to access your credit record, and from there they can get your social security number. From there they can get everything they need in order to locate you. They can also get information from the banks. There's also what's called the State Directory of New Hires. That is a database in which every employer where that pays a check to its employees, they must register and report new employees to this state database as they get them, because it helps the state to determine, what they're paying as far as payroll taxes, what they're paying as far as property taxes, what they're paying as far as income taxes are concerned. So they are required to report new hires into that database, and CSEA has access to that database. If you're in the military, of course they got you. That goes without saying they have you. You're on federal papers, so to speak. So they have access to the Department of Defense. They have access through the National Personnel Records Center. They have access to the Social Security Administration. They have access to VA. So there is a list, or there are a litany of places to how they can find you, to where they can locate you, and so forth and so on. All right. Now, after they find you, let's say they find you, and now what they're doing is they're getting ready to assess the child support obligation. Right away, if that girl is on assistance, you're in debt from day one. What do I mean when I say you're in debt from day one? What I mean is this: automatically off the rip, that girl has already received medical services for the delivery of that child. So a debt has been created at the time that child is born. So if you are the father of that child and you don't know about it, you are already behind the eight ball before that child takes its first breath or breaths in this world. So once they find you, they also have to do something which is called determining parentage. How do they determine parentage? CSEA has an administrative procedure. They can do it in court, or they can do it through CSEA's administrative process. So then what happens is they send you notice before anybody takes money from you. Before anybody takes your money or your freedom, you're allotted this little thing called due process. Due process very simply means that you have to know who's suing you, why they're suing you, what they're suing you for, or the reason they're suing you, and you're allowed the opportunity to defend yourself against a lawsuit, which is essentially nothing but an accusation, complaint, or some form or some kind of charge. You're allowed to be notified of that process before they issue a judgment taking money from you. Okay? So, what happens at that point? Now, this is the tricky part, because what a lot of brothers will do, and y'all got to stop doing this shit. A lot of times, y'all will get letters from the court. You will get notices from the court, and you throw that shit away. You throw it away because you're afraid. You throw it away because you're scared. Don't throw the damn paper away, because on that notice from the court is your appeals process. That tells you the time that you have to respond to what they call an acknowledgement of paternity. You have 60 days to respond to that acknowledgement of paternity. If you do not respond to that acknowledgement of paternity within 60 days, they enter a default judgment against you, and all the shit that we all know so well begins to happen. That's when they garnish your bank accounts. That's when they put an arrest warrant in lien for you, so that when you're pulled over, they pick you up and they take you to jail. You stay there for a specific amount of time, until someone can bring a chunk of money to the jail so that you're released, and they put that against the arrearages, if you have any, or they put that against the arrearages, and then you're released. But then you're subsequently running for the rest of your damn life. Now, I'm going to get to the arrearages process in a minute. But what I want to get to is this little area between due process and the actual judgment. Sometimes what they will do in the process of locating you, they will get an address for you and send the notice to that address. And I know somebody's going to say, well, Tony, what happens if the address is not correct? Okay. This is going to sound kind of fucked up, but it's not their problem. Because under the law, service has to be reasonable, and reasonable is defined as a process designed to let you know the service doesn't have to be perfect. In other words, it doesn't have to be spot on. If it's reasonably calculated to give you notice that you're being sued for support, service is effective. So if they send registered mail, the court rules will require, and what are the court rules? The court rules are the rules by which these agencies and attorneys, defense and prosecuting and civil and all the other practicing attorneys of the bar, they have to follow the rules, the court rules. That's the rules upon which the court functions. That's how it runs. It tells you what to do. It tells you when to file a motion. It tells you when not to file a motion. It tells you when to file an appeal, when not to file an appeal. It tells you how to answer a complaint, how not to answer a complaint. It tells you how to write a complaint. It tells you everything you need in order to navigate your way in court. The court rules spell out, okay, how and when to answer that complaint. So once you get that notice, you have to effectively, oh, I was going back to service. I'm skipping something. I got the buckwheat. Me and my man got the buckwheat. So let me go back. Service has to be reasonably calculated to let you know you're being sued. That means your address doesn't have to be necessarily accurate. Now that's screwed up, I know. So in other words, if they send registered mail to your last known address and somebody signs for that mail, in the eyes of the court, you've been served. Now, there is a way to get out of that. There is a way to get out of that if you've received or if you've gotten what's called improper service. If you have not received notice, or they sent the notice or the determination or the acknowledgement of paternity to the wrong address, you have an improper service problem. If you do not answer within that 60 days, you're going to have to overturn the judgment. You overturn the judgment on the grounds of just what I explained before, improper service. But the burden is on you to show that the service is improper. Okay? So a lot of guys get caught in this little area right here. They either ignore the notice, which there's nothing they can do about it if they ignore it, or the notice gets sent to the wrong address. If the notice is sent to the wrong address, you file post-judgment relief for, it's called a motion to set aside or a motion for relief from the judgment. A motion for relief from the judgment usually has a time period. You usually have a 1-year time period to file that motion, and you have to file it on specific grounds. Those grounds are fraud, mistake, or improper service, or there's a catch-all phrase in every one of them. It says any other reason justifying relief. That's usually the loophole for a lot of other post-judgment motions, but in this case, we're dealing with improper service. That's specifically articulated in the court rules. Okay? So now, once you receive that, let's say you have to file that motion to set that aside. Again, the burden is on you to go into court and show that you didn't receive service of that acknowledgement of paternity. If the court acknowledges, these are state laws. I'm going through the state laws right now. If the state acknowledges, or if the court acknowledges that you received improper service, okay, the only thing they're going to do is set aside the judgment, and then you're going to have to go and determine paternity. That means a blood test. Now, in many of these places, they use a swab, and some of these places, they still require a blood test. Now, if the state orders a blood test, it's on them. If you are disputing paternity, the state may have you pay for it. And if you're determined not to be the father, then what will happen is the state will reimburse you whatever you paid for that particular paternity examination. Okay. So let's say I'm going to give you a scenario because most brothers are caught up, most niggas are caught up in the situation to where they didn't know and now it's over their head and now they have the arrearages. If you're in a situation where paternity has been determined in an improper manner, or you're disputing the results, or the results are, because sometimes it comes back indeterminable, even though these results are generally accurate, there's a process that you can do if you're disputing it, but you're going to have to stay with this step for step. Here's what the appeals process is. There are two ways you can appeal a determination. If the determination is made in the CSEA's administrative division, you're usually dealing with something called a magistrate. A magistrate is the judge of that administrative agency. Every administrative agency has a quasi judicial system in which they litigate claims just like these. So usually you'll have to submit that to the magistrate. You submit your denial. You have to file a response that says, look, I'm denying this and I'm denying this determination of paternity on these grounds. So once you state the reason for the denial, the administrative court will give you a hearing, and then you will simply go to trial in that particular court. Now, should there be an adverse ruling entered against you in the CSEA's administrative court, you have the option of getting a judge in a circuit superior or a circuit superior or court of common pleas court to overturn the magistrate's ruling. But that ruling has to be overturned by clear error. Okay. So here's what you do. Here's how you stop the clock. What you will do is if you're appealing a bad ruling in child support court from a magistrate or a judge, the court rule has an appeals motion that you file. It's called, or a post-judgment motion that you file. It's called a motion for stay of judgment pending, a motion for stay of execution of judgment pending an appeal. Any form of appeal, as long as you file it within the time allotted, you are allowed that appeal as of right. Now, if you wait until the time for appeal expires, then you lose. It's up to the court to determine whether or not they even want to hear your appeal. But let's say that you file the motion timely. If that motion is filed timely, you are granted an appeal as of right. And what you would do at that time is file a motion for stay of execution of judgment pending the appeal. You file that in the court that gave you the bad judgment or the bad ruling. You file that with the court that says that you have to pay. After that happens, that stops the execution of judgment pending the determination of whether or not you owe that money in the court. Okay. So what they're probably going to require you to do, because this is a way they can get around it, they're going to require you to pay that money into escrow, because they can do that as well. They can require you to pay that money into escrow so that that money is there, so that they don't have to chase you for it. They may not require it for escrow. They may require you to post a bond, a surety bond, pending what happens on the appeal. What up, Issa Ali? What up, Marcus Coleman? Good y'all can make it. Glad to see y'all in here tonight. But anyway, that motion for stay of execution pending the appeal stops the collection activity against you. It keeps them from moving against you in the form of an arrest warrant. It keeps them from moving against you in the form of garnishing your wages, garnishing your bank accounts, or taking your taxes. Okay? Until you can get the opportunity to hash these issues out in the court. Now, the process I just described is an appeal from the CSEA's administrative court to a regular judicial court. That means a circuit court, superior court, or court of common pleas, whatever your felony court is in your particular jurisdiction. In other words, it's the highest court in the state, not the Supreme Court, but the highest court in your city, I should say, the highest court of the county, because those are county courts. Okay, so I'm going to answer questions in a minute. Just hold with me, hold tight. All right. Now, what if you already have a support order on your neck? What do you do if you have a support on your neck and you're in arrearages? No female can sign away or contract away a statutory right. Child support is a right granted by statute. It is a right given by statute that cannot be contracted away. In other words, she can't agree to waive receipt of child support from you. She can't just say, I agree, you can keep your money. Let's write this up, you can keep your money. That's not how it works. But what she can agree to in certain instances is to waive the arrearages. In certain instances, the woman can agree to waive the arrearages. Now, is that child support? No, that's not the same thing. Child support is what you must pay every month. The arrearages is what you didn't pay back when. So she can waive what you owed back then, but she can't waive the obligations of the present. Okay? So that's one way. The second way you heard a lot of these guys jump on YouTube and talk about bankruptcy. But what they didn't tell you, I'm getting to that in a minute, Walgo. I'm going in a minute. What these guys are not telling you is that bankruptcy does not charge child support, does not discharge a child support obligation or debts under child support. What it does is it places the child support obligation under the hands or in the jurisdiction of bankruptcy court, which according to the federal rules of bankruptcy court stops the collection proceeding against you. So all it does is it buys you some time. So if you have a warrant and you file bankruptcy on a child support, it doesn't discharge the debt. It just takes the debt out of one pocket and puts it into the other. So in other words, if you pay into the plan, the bankruptcy trustee will then turn around and pay that plan to pay that amount to the child support that you're paying into that plan. So you can't get rid of child support by filing bankruptcy. It does buy you time and it does stop the clock. It does get rid of the arrest warrants. However, if you stop paying on those arrearages or you stop paying into that plan on that child support application, they send a notice to CSEA. CSEA reinstitutes those collection proceedings. The warrant comes back, and now before you know it, when you get pulled over, your ass is going to jail. So if you put that in child support, if you put your child support debt in your bankruptcy plan, you have to continue to pay it in order to get the protection. You can also negotiate the arrearages in bankruptcy. You can negotiate your arrearages in bankruptcy. You can't negotiate the obligation, only the past amount that you're owed. So that's what these cats can tell. That's what these cats don't tell you. Even though bankruptcy will keep you out of jail, it will not stop the obligation. And guess what? If you're backed up enough in present obligations, if you start to accumulate present arrearages based upon missed weekly payments or missed monthly payments, that arrest warrant is coming right back. So you just wasted $700, $800, or $1,000 for nothing. As a matter of fact, the judge is going to say you could have taken that amount and paid down these arrearages, and that would keep you out of jail. Okay, so now I'm looking at the chat room, and I'm going to start to take some questions. And I'm going to start with I guess this is Mr. or Miss Faustino. And Faustino says the following. What if the dad said that the ex baby mama cheated on him, but she filed for child support? Does the court have the right to get the money from the baby dad? Well, paternity, again, you missed that part when I said the determination of paternity. The part about all that drama, nobody wants to hear about how big of a thought she was, but it is important in terms of determining the parentage. So what will happen is they will require both of you guys to go and to determine paternity, to determine who is the biological father. But you will have to be vigilant in reporting that to CSEA and let them know that there is another father present, that yes, she did cheat, so you're not on the hook. But if you take the test, if you take the paternity test and you're determined not to be the father, then at that point they would send the notice after the other name that you gave them. So that's a little bit of dry snitching there. You can dry snitch on someone else and let them know, look, he may be the father, so forth and so on. Go after that guy. But no action moves. Nothing is going to move until they determine whether or not you're the father. Because you can point the finger at him all you like, but until they determine whose pocket, until they determine that they're not going to hit your pocket, you're on the hook. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. Next up here, I have Walt Gold. Walt Gold said, Maceo, don't forget, if you get settlement proceeds, the court can get their hands on that. Absolutely. All assets are alienable for child support. That means they can attach or they can levy or execute a levy on any money you have through the courts for child support. He's exactly correct about that. Settlement proceeds, your income tax, any type of money that you are receiving is up for grabs, because the child support agency can levy your bank accounts without an order. That's another thing. If you owe back child support and you haven't done anything about the arrearages, they can levy the banks. They can send a levy to the banks. Get your account information, find out what's in there, and you will go to the ATM or you will go to withdraw your money and get your feelings hurt. CSEA is a gangster organization. They deaf on a nigga about child support. So this is why I'm telling you guys, don't let this happen to you. Get in here and get the information. Learn what you need to protect yourself. And as always, look for competent counsel to assist you in these proceedings. Walt Joe 100 said, what's up with child support and alimony? He said, child support and alimony payment payer here. Well, what you can do, and this is what I'm getting to, the next thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Child support, you can actually lower child support and alimony payments through something called a change in circumstances. A change in circumstances means you've let the court know that either you've lost your job, there's been a reduction in your income. Now, you can go through this procedure either through the administrative court or either through the judicial courts. Okay? So CSEA may have an administrative division, and you may be put under the referee again. That's the judge in the administrative court. So you will go under him and you will submit. They have a form that you submit. Now, with that form, they're going to require a financial statement and a pay stub, and they may require other documents to determine whether or not you've had a true reduction in income. Okay. If you get the reduction of income, they will determine that reduction in accordance to whatever calculations or formulas that your jurisdiction uses to determine what your obligation is. So in other words, whatever formula they use to determine how much you pay, they have a formula to determine how much they're going to reduce that amount to. Okay, so now if you get an adverse ruling there, you can appeal that ruling. This is how you stop the clock. You can appeal that ruling all the way back. If you're in CSE court, you can appeal it to the Judicial Circuit Court. And even in the Judicial Circuit Court, you can appeal that to the Court of Appeals. You can keep going as long as you have the money to do so. But again, if you got the money to do so, they're probably going to say you should be paying child support. So, but the appeals process are ways to buy you time until you can get your case together. But of course, if you have an attorney, that's going to cost you money. So it's an endless quicksand and black hole of debt that you work your way into. But if you have the means to prove the reduction in or the change, the reduction in income or the change in financial circumstances, then you will probably get it. Now, are you guaranteed it? No, you're not. You're not guaranteed it, but if you have the evidence, you have the check stubs, you have the financial statements, they usually give it to you if you can show it. Okay. B Money says settlement proceeds. Look for any liens before releasing those funds. Absolutely. You should search the court dockets. What you would do is you would go to the court dockets, type your name in the court dockets, look in the civil section of your court dockets, and search for judgments against you. Look for all judgments against you. The docket has what's called a docket history. That is a record of every order that has been issued against you. That includes judgments, that includes liens, that includes complaints, that includes affidavits, that includes the whole nine. Okay. So if you want to determine if there are liens against you, go to the court docket, and the court docket is basically the history of your case. All right. Modification. That's correct, Mr. Beatty. B Money here says, B Money again, he says, I filed for a change in income back in 2008 during the recession to get my child support reduced. That's something you guys have to do. Again, you can't be lazy about that. You got to be nice with your paperwork. You have to be meticulous with documentation, and you have to have the staying power. You have to have the will to go the distance. You can't get in the middle of that and say, well, I'm tired, I don't want to do it now. Because what you've done is, if you've engaged and pushed back that judge's docket with this case, and you have an appeal procedure on his docket, or you have a motion for stay on his docket, and then you suddenly appeal, and then you suddenly choose not to show up, you choose not to prosecute the case, you choose not to go forward, that judge is going to stroke you. I'm just going to tell you up front. He might even hit you with something called sanctions. Sanctions is a punitive measure. It's a punishment that is monetary, and he will require you to pay those sanctions, and he will make those sanctions punishable by lockup, punishable by incarceration. You can be incarcerated if you refuse to pay those sanctions, because if you refuse to pay those sanctions, now you're in contempt of court. Now you can be locked up. Whereas the debt is civil. If you disobey the court order and you refuse to pay those sanctions, you have disobeyed the court. Now you are in contempt. Now you may be incarcerated. So if you're going to start this game, if you're going to play this game, you have to be willing to go all the way. All right, let's see what we have here. Miss V here says, Texas court doesn't care if you have a change of income. I've seen lots of men, my family members included, been forced to weather the storm regardless. Yes, that's true. But here's the thing. You can't stop at the lower level. This is what I'm telling you guys. You guys got to stop being afraid of the court system. You cannot keep letting these people punk you. If you write damage, you got to stand on your square. If you're going to be a coward, then shut up and take what the fuck they're going to give you. But if you want to fight and if you want to stand on your square, you got to be willing to go down to the last dime if necessary. So now the question is it worth it? When I started out tonight, I told you guys this was not going to be for niggas that's looking for a quick angle. This is not going to be for niggas that's looking for a quick come up. This is going to be for those decent brothers that are just trapped and mired in this quicksand and they can't seem to get out. That's what these methods, strategies, and maneuvers are for. It is for those guys that are in this game, that they knee deep in this debt and they can't seem to get out. That's what this process is for. That's why you file these motions. That's why you file these claim of appeals, to stop these execution of judgments. It stops these warrants. It stops the police from chasing you all over town because you owe or you are in arrearage or in arrears with your child support obligation. You have to know these rules. This is why you also have to seek out competent counsel. Okay. So let's see what we got here. Uh, Miss Fausto said, I don't have kids. Excuse me, but I'm concerned about my cousins. Two of my cousins are in child support. That is a vicious system. Once they're in, it's hell getting out. You never get out. Now, what some rich people will do, what wealthy people will do, how I notice how they move and how they deal with the system, is they are still on amicable terms with the custodial parent. And that's where some of you niggas fall off, because some of y'all hate your baby mamas before the baby is even born. You have an antagonistic relationship. You have a hostile relationship with your baby mama before your child is born. And this is where you kind of screw yourself, but sometimes you can't help it. And I get it. I understand. But the fact of the matter is, they sit down and they negotiate, you know, a payout, a monthly payout to their mothers, to the child's mothers. And they keep records of the payouts. Then what they do is they reflect the amount that they're paying to the child's mother on their income tax. In other words, they set their income tax up to where it shows a reduction in spendable in income. It shows a reduction in, I'm looking for the word. I'm getting the buckwheat. I'm getting the buckwheat. Um, there's a word for, in other words, disposable income. That's what it is. They look for, they set up their taxes and then they file their taxes to show a specific amount of disposable income, and that disposable income is just enough to cover their child support. So those tax returns protect them from increases, and it also aids them if they need a reduction. So a lot of people will start at their taxes, will start with their taxes first before they, move on trying to file for a reduction, because whatever the IRS goes by in terms of your tax obligation, that's what the state will go by in terms of your tax obligation. Okay. So next comment here. It says, Ms. V says, men need to vet these women and stop sleeping with them or marrying them when they're unstable. I can't say that I disagree with that. Let's see. B Money. Okay, no type of vet. Let's see here. Lloyd says, good advice. I heard from a black doctor in high child support. He told me make more money, which I did. Well, the problem with that is that if you make more money, they take more money. I'm sure you guys have seen, and I hate to bring up this example, but people that are well off, the more money they make, the higher that child support obligation goes. Now, one of the options you have for checking abuses in the system is that you can call for an audit of the monies that you have been paying to the custodial parent. You can ask the court to audit her. How many people have done that? How many people even know that? You can ask for an audit of those funds that you've paid the custodial mother. In other words, you want her to come to court and explain what she's been doing with that money. And if the court finds that she has received more than enough money for that obligation and that you've been paying that obligation, and if she cannot show what she has been doing with those proceeds, the court will at that time readily grant a reduction. I've seen them do it. This is one thing that guys don't take the opportunity. They don't take advantage of this opportunity, rather. They don't take advantage of this opportunity in terms of making sure that the funds and the proceeds and the fees that they are paying are actually going towards the welfare of their children. They never call for an audit of what the mother is doing with that money. They never call for an audit. And this is where you screw up, because it is your right to know where your money is going. And if she cannot show that, at that point, you will at that time have qualified in the eyes of the court for a reduction. If she cannot show that she's been putting that money to good use, the court will reduce that obligation. Brooklyn 6458 said, I was kept from my son, so we went to custody court, I assume. He said, I won, but now my ex-wife quit her job to avoid paying child support. Yeah, they do that too. How can I ensure she pays the support order? She hit my son and I spent 66K fighting. All right. In that type of instance, because that's what niggas do generally. They quit their job to keep from paying support. that support obligation still goes, but what will happen is it's still intact. What happens is that as long as there's a support order, the court may reduce that support obligation, but that support obligation is not eliminated. The support obligation cannot be eliminated. I'm gonna say that again. The support obligation cannot be eliminated. So even though she quit her job, that doesn't mean the obligation to pay that support stops. The only thing it means is that she's accumulating arrearages. So what that means is you're gonna have to keep chasing her ass until that boy turns 18. You're gonna have to keep chasing her. Find out where she banks. You can also call them in for what's called a debtor's exam. You also have the obligation of calling them in for a debtor's exam. At a debtor's exam, they ask them, where are you working? Why aren't you working? Well, if you're not working, do you have a bank account? You also have the option of garnishing her taxes. If you have her social security number, you can garnish her taxes and that money will come to you. Okay? But other than chasing her to collect, there's not much you're going to be able to do. All right. What is the next thing here? B Money said the only problem with calling for audits is the family courts. I don't care about their damn negative attitude. I don't give a damn about their negative attitude. That's your money. I don't give a damn about how they feel about it. This is your money. It's your life. It's your money. It's your life. So fuck their attitude. Fuck how they feel about it, dude. This is your life. And if necessary, you use the court system, you use the administrative rules as long as you need to get what you need to get. I don't give a damn about their attitude. I gives two fucks about their attitude, and you should too. Let's see. What do I have here? Both of my cousins never cheated on their baby mama because their baby mama became Jezebel's spirits. Okay, that is what it is. I told you how to deal with that. Another way is to get custody. Yes, another way is to get custody, but here's the problem with that. Courts do not like taking, for some reason. Courts do not, they respect the bond that a mother has with her child. So unless you can prove that she's really unfit, that she's a criminal, or that she's into some form of drug abuse, the courts are not going to take a child away from a mother just because she's broke. The courts are not going to take a child, excuse me, not going to take a child away from a mother. I think I said a mother from a child. Well, either way, they're not going to move the child out of the home just because she's broke. That's not going to happen. Okay. So unless you can prove that she's really unfit, they're not going to remove that child from that home. Brooklyn says, my wife now has been great helping me with everything. She said if she refuses to pay, hire a forensic accountant to make sure she doesn't get off the hook. We went all in for this fight. Okay, yeah, you can do that too. But again, that's money. All right. I already answered that. B Money. My question does not have to do with B Money. Where we at here? I want to make sure I don't skip anyone's questions here that we have in here. Lloyd said I got custody and she gave me 0, but as a man, I made it work for my son. Yep, you may have to do it. Again, if you don't want to chase her, what other choice you got? I had a situation. Isha Ali, shout out to Isa Ali. Okay. Isa said, I had a situation where my baby mama took my daughter to another state and my daughter got adopted. I wish I knew a lot of this stuff then. Gratefully, I don't have any child support. Dog, that's kidnapping. They can't remove a child from the jurisdiction without your consent. Okay. I understand you didn't know it then, but I'm telling you now. Custodial parents can't just remove a child from a jurisdiction without the knowledge and consent of the non-custodial father, because that's effectively terminating your rights to see and to be a parent. That's killing your parenting time, which is also statutory. That's voiding or negating your parenting time, which you are allowed or given as a right under the statute of your particular jurisdiction. So that was illegal. That's called abduction. So I don't know if you want to do anything about it. You probably don't, but I'm just letting you know. Okay, let's see what we got here. Walt Gold. Walt Gold said, Macy, your child support is based off your income, which is why celebrity pay hundreds of thousands of dollars per month for their kids to their moms. But yes, you're correct about that. You're correct about that. That is the case. Uh what is this? Be honest, black women ain't shit. They're killing black. Okay, I'm not here for that tonight, dog. I'm not here for that tonight. I'm not here for that tonight. This is not going to be a black woman bashing. This is not what this is tonight. I'm not doing that shit. Take that shit over to the Red Pill channel. I'm not doing that in here. I'm just not. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing that. Okay, so they don't hurt mothers like they, so they don't hunt mothers like they hunt fathers. Yes, they do. It depends on, how hard anybody pushes it. It depends on you. I mean, if you are laxed on your rights and you don't protect your rights or exercise your rights, you're gonna get screwed. That's what it is. That's what it is. They hunt anybody. The courts are concerned about a deep pocket. That's what they want to know. Who's going to pay for this? Because they want that child off the public dole. That's what they want. They're not concerned about who's a mother, who's a father. They're not concerned about gender. I know you guys don't believe that, but it's the truth. If you get up off your ass and exercise your rights, and you have to be vigilant about it, you may not always win, but if you're reasonably competent, if you have a reasonable understanding of how this system works, there's no way you can't make it work for you. There's no way you can't use these rules to protect yourself. So let me see here. Next, it says in Texas, all employers, or in Texas, Topaz says employers have to report all new employees to attend general and other systems. If they get a job, they will be known. Yes, I said that at the beginning of the podcast, Topaz. The new hire directory, all states have a new hire directory where the employers have to report the people that are on their payrolls. So, yes, that's how they find you. That is a means of finding you. Walt Gold says she got to be a meth head bank robber before they give the man custody. Yes, that is correct. Uh, let's see. Devin. Reggie Lee says, I paid the same amount as another man, but his baby mama made the same amount of money as us. If there's a question as to how much you should be paying, you are also allowed a reevaluation. Um, any party, any parent, any party to a proceeding, you are allowed a review of your support order, or of your support obligation at your will. You can go to the court and request a review of your support obligation at any time. At any time, you are allowed a review of your child support obligation. You do not have to sit back and take that. You can have that order, or that support order, or that amount reviewed. You can either go through CSEA to do it, or you can petition the court to do it. It's up to you. Red Scorpio says some guys still have to pay after the 18th birthday. The guys that usually have to pay after their 18th birthday, Red Scorpio, is usually because of the arrearages. A lot of guys get in trouble because of the arrearages, because if those arrearages are not signed away, if those arrearages are not signed away, you're still on the hook for those. So it is possible for you to wind up in jail even after the birthday. It is possible for you to have that support obligation still around your neck, even after that child reaches the age of majority. So that happens all the time. Fausto. Okay, let's see what else we got here. B Money says fathers have to file for non custodial joint custody to stop them from moving to another state. Well, no, that's not necessary. You don't necessarily have to file for none. You Anytime there's a child involved, and you're determined to be the if parentage has been determined, your rights vest instantly. But you have to notify, someone has to notify the court that this is happening, that this is going on. So you don't necessarily have to file for a non-custodial non-joint custodial order in order to stop it. You simply have to let the court know that you're in danger of having your parenting time violated, or taken away from you because the mother is trying to move out of the jurisdiction without the consent and authority of the court and of the non-custodial father. Okay, so let's see. Let me go back up here. This chat. Where we at here? B Money says I filed for non-custodial joint custody to stop my son mother from moving to her home state. I would have to give my consent. Okay. All right. Red Scorpio, usually if they're behind. Lloyd Davis says with social media, maybe easier to prove how much baby mama parties and drinks. Maybe so. Okay. Let's see. See what we got here. Sorry, I just got here. Good content. Thank you, Miss Topaz. Thank you for joining us. Kwame says, but don't the court state make money to establish a support order? Do they really care about kids? Yes, well, it's supposed to be a pecuniary institution, which means it's supposed to be not for profit. But yes, I suppose they do make money because they're charging for it. But the thing is that in determining parentage, they usually pay for the test if they're ordering it. If the state is ordering the paternity test, they pay for it. If you pay for it and you're determined not to be the father, the states reimburse you the money that you pay. Do they really care? No, they probably don't. But it's not their job to care. They're not in that situation. You're in that situation. So who gives a fuck about whether they care or not? It's your money, not theirs. No, they don't care about your money. No, they don't care about your kid. So it's up to you to be concerned about your money and your kid. Of course they don't care. I mean, how could you expect them to? Let's see. Let's see. B Money says father should immediately file for visitation rights and non-custodial joint custody. Support obligations can be disputed if she messes with your visitation rights. Yes, that is correct. Support obligations cannot be disputed. They can be interrupted, and that's only temporary. Don't go out and spend the money just because you can't see your kid, because I assure you, you have to get that order in place first, because if you don't, you will set yourself up for an arrest warrant, because those arrearages are going to keep rolling. The courts are a bureaucracy and they make mistakes just like anybody else. So don't depend on that in order to interrupt or in order to temporarily abate or defer those that obligation. You need to let the court know immediately. Petition the court immediately. If there's a problem with visitation, don't sit back and say, well, I'm not paying because I can't see my child. No, you get your ass up and you go notify the court that you haven't been able to see your child, that you have been robbed of parenting time. You haven't gotten your parenting time as a non-custodial father of the child. You have to notify the court immediately. Do not sit on your ass and say, well, I'm going to keep the money because I haven't had the opportunity to see my child. That's not going to work. What's the age do child support stop for special needs children? That's a good question. For special needs children, you could go past the age of majority. Normally, I think it's 21, but most courts don't hold to that. If that child needs something, there are certain regulations on the books that may require you to continue paying support up until that child is close to its 30s. It just depends on a case by case basis. So there's no hard black and white answer for that question, sir. It depends on the laws of your jurisdiction. The lovely Nicole Michelle is in the house. Thank you for joining us, Nicole. She said the other custodial parent must give consent to move the child to another state. Absolutely. You can't just take children out of the jurisdiction or out of the state willy-nilly. Again, that shit is called kidnapping. That's called abduction. And that is a felony. Okay. Miss V says, my ex-husband will be paying after all my kids are grown, but it's his fault. He set himself up to pay the bare minimum just out of spite. Okay, I don't know about that situation. Moving on. It says, Reggie Lee says, does placing your child in school mean you're now the custodial parent? No, it doesn't, but I'm glad you asked that question. A custodial parent is designated a custodial parent if you establish a custodial environment. What does that mean, Tony? What does that mean? That means if the child is living with you, if you're clothing and feeding that child, okay, you have established, excuse me, a custodial environment. In other words, if you're taking care of that child, you are now the custodial parent. That's what that means. All right. So next, okay, rarely have I ever seen dudes get custody. That's true. I said that in the beginning. Courts do not like breaking or severing the emotional bonds or the emotional relationship between a mother and child. They respect the fact that she had that child. They respect the closeness of that experience, of the childbirth experience. Therefore, the laws are weighed in her favor with respect to change of custody. Okay. So let's see what we got here. I don't want to skip anybody. Let's see what we got here. Make sure I don't skip anybody. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah, please hit the like button. That's the least you can do. Hit the like button. I ain't asking you niggas for no money. The very least you can do is hit the like button. All right. Let's see what we got here. Naima Buckner in the house. Thank you for joining us, Miss Buckner. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you are so inclined, become a patron at my Patreon at Power of Strategies on Patreon. Thank you very much. All right. Topaz said, you also are ordered to carry insurance. That's correct. You also are ordered to carry insurance and must pay after 18 if the child cannot be their own guardian or are disabled. That is correct. I'm glad you brought that up. In addition to child support, there may be medical insurance obligations. There may be medical insurance obligations if the child is disabled. That is very true. Thank you, Ms. Topaz, for bringing that to mind. She says, I know someone whose son failed the 12th grade, so dad had to pay until he graduated at 19. Yes, because the rules are different for children with disabilities. All right. Did we ever figure out the PayPal? No, we didn't. So way of strategy 44 at gmail.com, way of strategy 44 at gmail.com. I'll figure that out in a minute. All right. Okay, Miss V is back. Okay. Let's see. Why Isa Ali asked a very good question. He said, why the fuck didn't I know this? Because a lot of brothers run from the courts. We have a childish and irrational fear of the system. And because we have a childish and irrational fear of the system, if you don't take care of your business, you become someone else's business. A lot of us spend a lot of time running from the system instead of learning about it. And when you learn the system, you learn how to fight the system. And when you learn how to fight the system, there's a damn good possibility that you just may beat the system. Now, there's some people that will tell you that that's not possible. It's not true. It is possible. You just have to know the rules. You just have to know the rules. You just have to know how to play the game. Notice I said beat the system. I didn't say uh, run from or dodge your obligation, because I'm not here to tell any person not to I'm not here to tell anyone to dodge the obligation of paying for a child that they conceived. Miss me with that shit about, well, she tricked it at me. No, you responsible for your own nut. You responsible for your own damn sperm. If you choose to run up in a bitch raw, if you put your dick in a blender, then you get a smoothie. It is what it is. I'm not here to help you skip out on your obligation as a man. That is not what I'm here. That's not what I'm about. At Max City and over here on Power and Strategy, we believe in accountability. We believe in people taking personal responsibility for the choices that they make. So if you got with that rat and you got a baby by that rat, I'm sorry, but you got a little mouse. You got to take care of your little mouse. It is what it is. If your baby mama's a ratchet, ah, it is what it is. That child is not gonna stop. That child is not going to be any less hungry. His obligation or his need for food is not going to stop just because his mama's a ratchet. That child is still going to need clothes, even though his mama's a ratchet. That child's still going to need care. He's still going to need insurance. He's still going to need dental insurance. He's still going to need medical insurance. He's still going to need some type of life insurance policy. He still needs a form of beneficiary insurance. If something should happen to you, that child still has responsibilities regardless of whatever drama you going through with his mama. So miss me with all that shit. You put your dick in the blender, enjoy the smoothie. It is what it is. Let's see. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't skip anything here. Okay. Miss V says, I truly don't understand why women withhold children from their fathers. Men who usually pay want to be involved in their children's lives. I would say so too. B Money say, I got custody when my son was almost a teen. He went to court and he wanted to live with me. Yep. Janelle Santos said, too bad it's not state mandated for all men to get custody of their children. I know some mothers would be happy with that shit because I know some of these women don't even want these kids. I'm gonna tell that side of the game too. Some of these women don't even want, and what these women are doing to these children because they're mad at you, that shit is profane. That shit is an abomination. What some of these children are going through because the mother is mad with you. And if you know what they're doing to these boys and the girls, if you had a heart, you would want your child. You wouldn't want another human being going through what that woman is putting your children through. So I'll move on from that. All right. If dad takes a DNA test and finds out at 14 the child is not his, can the child support be canceled? My friend was told it doesn't matter because he's already signed on the birth certificate. Let me answer that question, Miss Adiva. It says simply a diva. I'm sorry. I'm just reading this chat here, but the court has in law there's a term called loco parentis. Loco parentis means one who stands in the place of a parent. So if you sign that birth certificate and if you've been performing in accordance with the role of a father, yes, you can still be on the hook for support. You could be. Doesn't necessarily mean you will be, but you can be still on the hook for support because you are standing in the place of a parent. The doctrine of loco parentis can require you to still pay child support even if the child is determined not to be yours. Miss Nicole Michelle asks, are there any states that require mandatory paternal DNA testing at birth? All states require, well, as far as I know, most of the states have a requirement for paternal testing at any time. But at birth, it's not specifically stated at birth, but all states do require paternal testing to determine paternity. You have to get tested before the obligation attaches. So the test is mandatory, but it's not necessarily at birth. Okay, so that's a yes and no answer. Okay, it would depend on the jurisdiction, but largely from the jurisdictions that I've researched, no. It just depends on at what period the non-custodial father is found, at what period they find that father, because they may find him after birth. A lot of times they find him 10 and 15 years into the child's life. So it just depends on how quickly they locate the biological father. So let's see what we got here. I'm going too fast here. Okay. Yeah, if she's ratchet, he may need food and clothes more than otherwise. Yep. Because you know how them ratchets do it. They spend all the money on themselves. They spend all the money on their damn hair and everything else except those children. But I'm not going to go in on that right now. I better find a side hustle and stop complaining. I couldn't have said it better myself. B Money said I was in the family courts for at least every other year fighting for my rights. They knew me by my first name. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. You have to, the courts function on one very important principle is time. So you have to know how to use the system to use time to your advantage. Once you learn how those rules work and how to use time to your advantage, You increase the chances of winning in child support court. You increase the chances of prevailing in a child support proceeding. But if you're a lazy nigga, you don't want to do anything, you just expect for shit to go right, you just want to throw up your hands and scream, it's wrong. Motherfucker, everybody know it's wrong. Everybody know it's wrong. The question is, what are you going to do about it? They know it's wrong, but what are you going to do about it? So if you don't know how to protect yourself, again, if you don't take care of your business, you become their business. And when you become their business, you are out of business. God damn it, you through dealing. Flat out. All right. Let's see. Now we're getting into the question of, I guess, who's in charge, because that's another thing I've heard. Miss Janelle Santos says, we are in charge of our wounds. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But I'm not a person that follows the ideology that says that just because you control whether or not you have a baby, that means that the nigga goes scot-free and he's off the hook. See, a lot of people subscribe to that theory. I don't. I don't subscribe to the fact that, okay, well, just because, you decide whether or not to have a baby, that means I shouldn't have anything to do with this baby. That means I'm not responsible. No, I don't go for that shit. And yes, I know that the child support system is fucked up. Yes, I know that it is screwed up, but it's like any bureaucracy. The child support agency is just like any government bureaucracy. There's going to be some inefficiency. There's going to be human error. There's going to be a lot of fuckery involved, flat out. But that's no excuse for you to skirt your obligations, to skirt your responsibilities. I'm sorry, I can't co-sign that. I don't care who you are. I can't co-sign that. I can't co-sign fuckery. I can't co-sign fuckery in any form. It is what it is. Again, if you put your dick in the blender, you get a smoothie, enjoy the taste. Ms. Topaz says this is a great stream and helpful for our community. Mature thought process on this subject. Enjoy your evening. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Miss Simply a Diva says, I'm the wife of Brooklyn 6458. Oh, shit. Men need to learn the system so they can fight back and be in their kids' lives. Absolutely. Absolutely. Please let me know how I can donate to your channel. If you want to donate to my channel, you can catch me on Patreon, way of strategy 44 at gmail.com, through PayPal, way of strategy 44. On PayPal, or you can consider becoming a Patreon. And the link, I think Miss Naima Buckner, she's still in here, put the link in the chat room. You can subscribe and become a patron there. I intend to be doing more content like this. I'm kind of sick of all this shit talking about how you can get pussy. Everybody want to get pussy, but don't nobody want to deal with the consequences of fucking. If it was up to me, I would give niggas a license. I've said this before. I would license people to fuck. I would not be allowing people to fuck willy-nilly. Everybody would literally have to get a fucking license from me. And if you got caught fucking without a license, you get a fucking ticket. And if you get a fucking ticket, you get a sterilization drug. You wouldn't want me as the ruler of this country. I would be assassinated in 24 hours. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Let's see. Miss V. I guess she's gone for the night. Thank you for posting the link again in my Patreon link. Thank you for that. Let's see. See the women here, I guess, are purging the night. So are there any more questions? Does anyone in the chat room have any more questions about anything related to child support? Please ask them, because if not, I'm going to go ahead and shut this stream down if there are no more questions. If the fellas in the room, if there are any more questions, please shout out your questions. And also feel free to like the video. Please like the video. I ain't hit you niggas up for no money, so the very least you can do is hit a nigga off with a free like. So are there any more questions? Do the dudes have any more questions? We've gone roughly about an hour and 15 minutes right about now. This was going to be a short stream unless Unless there are questions, I'll go longer if there are questions, or if anybody has any issues that they want to raise or discuss in the chat room, it's up to you. Uh, let's see. Well, yes, they do, but Miss Nicole Michelle, niggas ain't gonna support anything if it ain't about, generally, not all of them. Of course, I got the exceptions in here tonight. Niggas ain't gonna support anything unless it's about pussy, unless you trying to tell them how to get pussy for free. And ain't no such thing as free pussy. That's what got them in this mess to begin with. You in child support court right now because you believe in free pussy. There's no such thing as free pussy. There's no such thing as free sex. So this is constructive content, but I don't expect them to pay for it. I should, but I don't, because again, I got a PhD in niggas. I got 2 degrees, a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in economics, but I got a PhD in niggas, and I can tell you what they're gonna do tomorrow. So thank you for that comment, Miss Michelle. And I got another question here from B Money. B Money, I'm sorry, not B Money. I'm sorry, Issa Ali. My bad. Issa Ali says, there anything I can do about visitation about my daughter, even though she's in another state? Well, here's the problem. You would have to petition either your state, because if she was taken out of your state unlawfully or illegally, um, again, that's kidnapping. But you might want to file for visitation in that state and alert that state that she was moved across state lines without your permission. Filing a motion or petition, whichever name your court uses, you put the court on notice of what has happened, and you explain the facts of what has happened, the facts that she was taken across state line without your consent. And I'm sure somebody in the mix will come in and assist you with that situation. But you have to let the courts know what's going on. You have to advise them about what's going on. B Money says the most expensive pussy is so-called free. Ain't that the truth? You ain't never lied on that one. All right. It Walt Gold says free pussy too expensive. Yeah, you're right. There's no such thing as free pussy. I will say that to the day they put me in the ground. There's nothing free, player. There's nothing free. No matter what anybody tells you, there's nothing for free. Tony got a PhD in niggonomics. Yep, PhD in niggonomics. I can tell you what they're gonna do tomorrow. I can tell you what they can do tomorrow. As O'Shea Duke Jackson always says, the fuckery and the buffoonery remains at an all-time high. That is absolutely real. That is absolutely real. All right. All right. So he said, yeah, even though if it was years ago, yeah, you can still file the petition, Issa. You can still, then they're gonna ask you where the hell you been. Be prepared to answer that. But if you didn't know the kid was gone, they're going to ask you, well, how is it possible that you didn't know your kid was gone for that amount of time? So you have to be prepared to explain the absence, because there is something called latches. Latches is a legal term in equity, means that when you sit on your rights and you don't do shit, where you're lackadaisical about enforcing your rights or protecting your rights in court, those rights are effectively waived and taken from you. So you have to be able to explain why you didn't do something all that time. So if that explanation is good and the judge buys it, you get your relief. If not, he's going to throw you out on your ass. All right. The elephant in the room is making sure your birth control is on point for both men and women. Yeah, that is the point. That is the point, because the problem is we out here having babies with people we don't even like. We out here having babies with motherfuckers and we don't even know their names. That's where we are right now. And I'm not going to go too deep into that, because Miss Nicole Michelle does an excellent job over there at Inner Beauty TV. She does an excellent job of explaining that and breaking down that game. So go over there and listen, to her, get the game to her, get the game from her about that, because she talks about vetting. She talks about many different things that you guys need to be listening to. Now, I frequently troll her channel, but she knows that I'm, when I'm over there, I'm just messing around, and I don't mean, no harm or whatever, but she breaks down the game exquisitely about vetting, about marrying before you carry. That's some real shit. That's some real shit. And no matter how many people talk about and bitch about what she's saying is real. There is no such thing as free pussy. In the real world, everything costs. Even in the hookup culture, there's no such thing as free pussy. Don't let them tell you that. The hookup culture produces exactly. Miss Nicole Michelle says, quote, the hookup culture produces unwanted and trick babies. And quiet as it's kept, a lot of the problems that we have out here right now is we got a lot of trick babies out here. Uh-oh, did you say that, Tony? Yep, I said that. There are a lot of motherfucking trick babies out here. That's why the dating pool is as fucked up as it is. That's why the hookup culture is as popular as it is, because a lot of these kids are trick babies. They trick babies by thoughts, hoes, sons of bitches, deadbeat niggas, two strike Timmies, and the like. It's not just the women, it's the niggas too. It's the niggas too. So if you are a grimy gutter nigga, I don't let you off the hook either. I don't let you off the hook either. In fact, if I were president, if I were king, I would have your motherfucking ass spayed and neutered. Motherfuckers having 13, 20, 13, 23, and 30 kids. That case of the guy down there in Memphis, he had like 30 different children. That shit is ridiculous. That shit is ridiculous. And that's a product of the hookup culture. That is where that shit comes from. Most of those babies were trick babies. Don't let them fool you into thinking that all of those were relationships. No damn bona fide relationships. Those are trick babies. I know a damn trick baby when I see one. A lot of these kids are trick babies. Quiet as it's kept. Let's see. I got another question here. Is it possible that as a new spouse of a co-parent, you could be financially liable in any way? Yes, it is. I said that earlier. It's called loco parentis. Loco parentis, one who stands in the place of a parent. If you stand in the place of a parent, you can be liable for support. Yes, you can be. You absolutely can be. All right. Let's see. Yes, yes, yes. Less the diamond babies or trick babies. I'd rather call them trick babies. Trick babies. You got a lot of damn trick babies out here. That's what you got. So let's see. What else do we have here? Mm. I covered bankruptcy. I talked about bankruptcy. Bankruptcy only delays the inevitable, but you still have to keep paying on the plan. If you don't pay into your bankruptcy plan on that child support obligation, all of that shit comes back. The arrearages and the arrest warrant, it all comes back. Everything. Child support is inalienable. You can't get rid of it. You can't discharge it. You can't protect your assets from it. Okay. It is child support, taxes, and student loan debts. Those are inalienable debts. You cannot avoid them. Excuse me, those are alienable or unavoidable, I should say. Those are unavoidable debts. You cannot discharge those debts. All right. So I'm going through my chat here. Well, I guess that's all for the night, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for joining me here on this live. Thank you guys. I'm glad I'm not talking to myself tonight. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable doing this shit, so I'm sure that there'll probably be more of these. Let's see. I got something before we go. Oh, wow, that's why these men don't want to date single mothers. That's bullshit, Janelle Santos. They're dating these single mothers. They're not going to stop dating these single mothers. They're going to keep fucking these single mothers. Disregard all this shit you hear on YouTube about them saying don't date single mothers. They love these single. They can't get enough of these single mothers. They're going to keep fucking these single mothers. Yes, I know what they're saying. All the stuff, all the criticisms that they're making may be true. Yes, their criticisms are accurate. Yes, they're valid. Is it going to stop them from screwing these single mothers? No. Matter of fact, they're going to be, I know some of y'all in here are single mothers, and I know some of these niggas going to be in your inboxes tonight. Okay? They're going to be in your inboxes tonight. All of these dudes that are upset about these single mothers are niggas that didn't get the right of first refusal. They didn't get the right to shit on you before the nigga that you're attracted to got the opportunity to shit on you. That's what this is about. They're not going to stop chasing you. They're not going to stop screwing you. They're just not going to marry you. That's what they say when they say don't date a single mother. They mean don't marry a single mother. That's really what they're saying. Don't marry a single mother. They're not going to stop dating you. They're not going to stop screwing you. They're just not going to cuff you. Okay. This is tax season. This is tax time. So these niggas going to get in position. They know y'all got them tax checks coming. So, they're going to be super nice. But right around Valentine's Day, that's the breaking point. Right about then, they're going to start breaking up with your ass. They're going to, get out the house after you done signed for these cars and after you done took your goddamn tax refund to pay for their taking your tax refund to pay for their goddamn nigga Corvettes, the Dodge 300s, and all of that shit. They're going to be gone by April the 15th. Okay. So no, they're not going to stop fucking you. Yeah, this is some low life dirtbag hookup culture shit. This is what happens in impoverished communities. There's nothing strange about it. It happens in any poor community. It's not special simply because we're black. If you go back to the turn of the century, when the Irish came here, the Irish were the white thoughts of the 20th century. They were the hoes of the 20th century. Okay. Every poor minority, now it's the Mexicans or the Hispanics. Every community where there's poverty, you're going to have the same type of conditions. Okay. Let me see what else I got here. Thank you. Thank you, Excalibur. Thank you for joining me. Let's see. B Money says, after 30, you can't help but date single mothers. Yes. If you got a 77 out of wedlock birth rate, who else are they dating? I mean, who else are they dating? You got a 77%, and the main niggas that are telling you not to date single mothers are dating single mothers. See, they think that because the mothers are hiding out or being taken care of by the grandmamas, by big mamas, that means that they're not single mothers. The main niggas that are screaming on single mothers are the main niggas fucking single mothers. Let's see. Thank you, ma'am. What's the next show? I haven't decided yet. I'm going to kind of put a poll up and let the audience determine because, first and foremost, I'm here to give information. I'm not here to go on with this course of we hate bitches. We hate. I'm not here for that. I'm not here to continue that red pill discourse. I'm tired of that shit. So I'm here basically to give information to help people, to empower people, useful information that will help people protect themselves. That's what I'm about. Survival and prosperity. Not just prosperity, but survival. Not just survival, but prosperity. That's what my channel is about. That's what my content is about. I'm not here to talk about or talk against bitches that niggas are just gonna keep on fucking. I'm not interested in that. Let's see. If anybody has any suggestions, please let me know. Anything you want to ask or talk about, anything, any content that you want to see on this channel, um, let me know. Lloyd Davis said, and I need a new truck. This is the season to get one, bruh. This is the season to get one. This is the season. All you got to do is get in position, find you a nice little girl that look like Stacey Abrams. Shout out to Nicole Michelle's podcast on hypergamy for the BBW. Go check that out. So yeah, they hitting up single mothers. Don't believe that shit. They love single mothers. They can't get enough of niggas be on YouTube living with single mothers. That's what killed me. These niggas be on YouTube living with single mothers with their leases, with the leases in the woman's name. They think I don't know that, but I know how y'all get down. I know what y'all doing. I know where the bodies are buried. You're welcome. I guess this is a woman, Miss Fausto. Thank you. Let's see. DJ Cadillac says paid child support for 18 years plus gave my daughter anything she wanted. They gave her my GI Bill. She just called and asked for more money. Well, son, women cost. Welcome to the brotherhood. Women cost. All right. Let's see what we got here. Of course, I love the status talk from A to Z, making of wealth. Okay. Shout out to this brother. Let's see. Anybody got any suggestions? Let me know if you have any suggestions for show content, especially anything legal that you would like me to cover, because I'm all about helping people protect themselves from the system. I'm all about giving people practical strategies for surviving in the courts. That is my specialty. So if you have an idea or concept or question for a show, you can hit me at wayofstrategy44@gmail.com. That's wayofstrategy at 44, well, excuse me, wayofstrategy44@gmail.com. Wayofstrategy44@gmail.com. I know a guy who said he couldn't appeal the child support until after. No, that's bullshit. You are allotted an appeal, baby, by right. You are allowed to appeal a final order or judgment by the court by right. That is a right that is statutory. There's no such thing as he couldn't appeal until after the child was 18. That's nigger law. That's nigger logic. That's nigger reasoning. That's nigger shit. Okay? That's what that is. You can always appeal an adverse judgment as long as it is a final order. Okay, let's see what else we got here. All right. Yeah, yeah. Most of them are dating the very women that they talking about, so please ignore them. A lot of them are hate fucking. They want to be with women that they're not qualified to get. That's just what it is. This type of thing has a short expiration date. She's gonna get sick of dusty long term. Well, yeah, maybe so. All right. He said, what about women claiming to be bisexual or polyamorous? There are women that I know that are bisexual or polyamorous, but usually those are women that they got screwed over in relationships, or what happened was they was chasing a nigga that was too expensive for them. When you see women that are talking about polygamy, 9 times out of 10, from my personal observation, it's usually women that were chasing a nigga that they know that they didn't have any business with. And when they didn't get the nigga that they wanted, and he did what he was supposed to do, the only thing he can do, now, their jaws are tight, they out of shape. The jaws are out of tight. The jaws are tight and out of shape because the nigga spinning. Well, that's what that nigga do. That's what he do. He chill on your couch. That's what he do. He take your car and go fuck another bitch in the back seat. That's what he does. So a lot of the bisexuality and a lot of the polygamous relationships are a result of women dating out of their lane. So, all right. Let's see what we got here. He says, I like single mothers because they don't have to get up and go home to them kids. Well, at least we got one dude that's honest. Shout out to DJ Cadillac. It's a lot of dudes that join. It's a lot of dudes that like single mothers too. So you ain't alone. They just ain't got the balls to admit it. What about felony expungements? I can cover that in another podcast. I tell you what I'll do. I'll put that up on a poll, and based upon how you guys vote, based upon your participation, be checking my community tab button. And I'll determine, based upon what you would like covered, because I am familiar with felony expungements. I have done them. I still do them as a part of my job description. What I do now, I still do those things. So I'm well versed in explaining how those go. So, like I said, when I put this up, when I put the poll up in my community, on my community tab, you guys can let me know, whether or not that's something you want. What it says, Lloyd Davis said, I bought a house and you can't owe nothing. Years later, they mailed me a letter talking about I owe what the fuck. Okay. Again, that's another show. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, the Weed Show. You guys can go and catch. I have a podcast up. I think it's in Patreon now. My podcast for my patrons is called, I think, the ways to make money, the 7 ways to make money selling weed. You know, as a weed dealer, because of, as everyone I'm sure here is aware of, marijuana legalization is coming. It's coming as sure as the sun is going to rise tomorrow. So again, get in on that. All right. The felony resources would be a good show. All right, player. Well, I'm going to put that up on my community tab section. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to vote on that. You tell me what you want to discuss. And, most votes wins. Most votes wins. So with that being said, it is an hour and 35 minutes into this podcast. I'm about to get out of here for the night. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for being patient with me. How legalized prostitution will change to 75. Yep, I'm going to put that in the poll too. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for showing up tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for supporting my channel, for showing up here tonight. I'd like to send a shout out to my patrons. I would like to send a shout out to my supporters. I would like to send a shout out to Max City. Issa Ali, good to see you in here. Luli, good to see you in here. Inner Beauty TV, Excalibur, Miss V, Janelle Santos, and of course, my moderator, the incredible Miss Naima Buckner. Thank you guys for coming on through. Thank you guys for supporting me. As always, as always, as always. In the words of Don Cornelius, I wish you love, peace, and soul. I'm out of here, baby. Y'all be good. One love.